Alliance blog, the Alliance blog, the Alliance blog, the Alliance blog. Alliance? If you put an S in front of Alliance, you have Silliance. That's me.
Can you believe that there's some people in this world that did not tune in to the Alliance Blog podcast? Shame on you! Shame on you! My name is Ella Indy, and I'm one half of the NWA Women's World Tag Team Champion. And I'm Kizzy Page, the other half of the NWA World Women's Tag Team Champion. And you better go listen to the Alliance Blog, what is it called again? Podcast, period. Or your ugly. Pretty and Power approved. Alright.
Mi gente, you already know who it is. The radioactive pop with Danny Limelight, the United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Poppy.
Building an alliance.
Will you join us?
It's showtime.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
You're not here, you missing out, because this show...
Ladies and gentlemen.
All right, listen up. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance, as well as various other independents throughout the, these 13 colonies plus a couple of states. We're talking wrestling all across the USA at this point. Daddy, what do you look, underneath me is the guy who represents Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, Jaden. Underneath Rick is a guy that represents pro wrestling promotion in Texas called Iconic Heroes of Wrestling Excellence. I talk about promotions all over Southern California and Tijuana. Rick covers all of the East Coast and really wrestling from yesteryear. I mean, we are a global, we are very much the podcast of record that covers the independents and beyond in the United States.
Absolutely.
I'm waiting for DK to argue with me on that one because he looks a little.
He looks confused today. DK, you okay?
Well,
could you hear?
I'm here.
Oh, all right.
I watched Power about 15 minutes ago. I finished, so you know.
Yeah, I watched it today as well. So
I'm still recovering.
Really? Okay. All right.
Did you not like it this episode, DK?
Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
All right, that's fair.
That's a great shirt, Jay. That's a great shirt.
Look, I have enough shirts now where I could be a little bit more selective about what I'm wearing on the podcast. And, our guy, Thrillbilly, Silas Mason, part of this week's Power. So I made sure to acknowledge and recognize our Thrillbilly chief. And, the other thing that I would like to there's a couple things I want to talk about tonight. Of course, we'll talk about Power. We're going to talk about some of the announcements that we're hearing from the NWA. Some, not so much getting into the spoilers of it, but some more names that are being added to the 77th anniversary show. But, in my own backyard, I had the opportunity to check out, since Saturday, I've been to 3 wrestling shows in less than 1 week. I was at Epic Pro Wrestling in Los Angeles. I was at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood in Irvine, and I went to AEW last night in Ontario. And not only am I completely exhausted, but I had a lot of fun experiences with pro wrestling. First and foremost, I got to see Scorpio Sky 2 out of those 3 nights. Unfortunately, it could have been 3 for 3 had I stayed for AEW longer last night. You think I gotta say that, Rick? Say.
This was the first Dynamite I watched in almost 3 years.
What'd you think of it?
So it wasn't too bad. I listened to Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez in the morning. I listened to the show.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I'm sorry that you don't appreciate the gem that is Dave Meltzer. But I listened to it, and they were hyping it up, and I mean, he hypes up everything, but they were talking about like it was kind of ordinarily really good show. So I said, what the hell? I got Max and I put it on. I said it was pretty good, but nothing really stood out. The only thing that stood out are complaints, so I'm not going to complain today, at least. Not yet. Not till we get to Power. I'll complain about Moxley because he just walks like a goof, like his whole character's a goof. So.
I like it. It's funny, and I was texting DK and Jaden during the event because I only consider myself a casual AEW viewer, but then I started counting how many times I've seen them in the last 3 years. I've seen them in Phoenix. I was at Double or Nothing when they were in Vegas. I've seen them multiple times in Los Angeles and El Segundo, and then last night was my first time seeing them in Ontario. I'm like, I've seen AEW in 5 different cities, 2 pay-per-views, several television tapings, and I only consider myself a casual fan. So that was kind of dawned on me while I was sitting there. And, I'll be honest, like ticket prices for AEW are so much more affordable than they are for WWE. At a similar sized venue for $80, I was up in the nosebleeds. For $45, I had decent seats at AEW. And again, the show itself I thought was mostly entertaining. Like, I don't understand all the hate for Mercedes Moné. I think she's terrific. Moxley is a dork. I don't like Moxley. I'm not a fan of him at all.
See?
I got so excited because Samoa Joe came out in the arena. I was like, hell yeah, we're going to get a Samoa Joe match. And we did it. I'm like, how can you be in California and not use some of your California guys? Like, I know Joe would have got a pop. But, in the wrestling style that I like, I'm not going to say that I'm an AEW mark, but I do like high-flying style of wrestling. That's why I think I enjoy Lucha Libre so much. So, the Bucks with Takeshita and who did they take on? Whoever they took on, I can't think of right now. That was a fun match for me. And then Will Ospreay and Swerve versus Dralistico and the Beast Motros. I enjoyed that a lot. I was very happy with Dynamite. Collision, on the other hand, I was falling asleep, and
they recorded 2 shows, right? And,
yeah.
I thought they did 3.
Oh yeah, I think they did Ring of Honor too, right?
They might have done more Ring of Honor too. They did film a Ring of Honor dark match. But I don't even think it was a real dark match. I think it was literally they kept calling it a bonus match. So I don't know. It was the Dark Order versus the Fraternity, and like they weren't even like the fraternity members. They were pledges. They didn't even announce their names. It's the Dark Order and the Fraternity, and it was a 5-minute match that was 3 minutes too long. But like I said, I had a good time at Dynamite, and I'm glad I went for that. But Collision was just so boring. I ended up leaving early, which thank you, sweetheart. Which made me miss out on the surprise that I wish I'd have stayed for, which was Scorpio Sky made his return to AEW last night. Oh, Noob said the Frat House. I apologize with all apologies to AEW's creative and development, the Frat House. Thank you for that, Noob. And I'm really bummed that I missed Scorpio Sky because I saw Sky on Saturday challenge for the Epic Pro Wrestling Championship. I saw Scorpio Sky on Tuesday wrestle Ray Jazz, and they had a phenomenal match. I can't wait to see that one again when they run it back on YouTube. But missed out on seeing Scorpio Sky make his return to AEW. Now, my question to you, Rick, and then I'm going to ask Jaden and DKM. Sky hadn't been seen on television since the fall of 2023. We're talking almost 2 years since he's been on television. One, were you happy, or are you happy to hear that Scorpio Sky is back with AEW? And do you think that this means that we could see some other stars return that we haven't seen on TV in quite some time?
I'll answer the second part first. Other stars, probably not. They just pick and choose who they want coming in and going and stuff like that. As far as happiness that about Scorpio Sky coming back, I love watching that guy. He's really, I haven't followed him probably as long as you have. Probably, maybe half the time or so. But I think he's a very talented man, and I think that if AEW does right with him, because AEW was just, they bring in a guy for a few months and they do whatever and then he's gone type of a thing. And we haven't seen Scorpio Sky in there for a long time. They can build, I think, the whole company around that guy, I think, if they work it right. I think he could be the star of the company.
There's the company has so much accolades behind it, right? There's so many titles that they recognize. And I'm looking at guys on the roster and I'm like, they're not as talented as Scorpio Sky. Now, like, I'm not saying that he's better than everyone on the roster, but he's certainly better than a lot of the guys that I watched on Tuesday or Wednesday night. So I was happy to see him. Now, Jaden, I know AEW is not your cup of tea. I don't even really know your opinion on Scorpio Sky, but I'd like to hear it.
I think Scorpio Sky's good. I definitely think you have recency bias.
I'll take it.
But I do think he is good. I do like him. I'm more looking forward to his match against Ray Jazz. That excites me. That has me more excited than anything he's doing in AEW. I mean, it's great that he's on TV, but he's on the B show.
Yeah.
And all TV is good. Like, it's if a wrestler's on WWE television and he's not on Raw and he's not on SmackDown, but at least he's on Main Event and he's still on TV.
Yeah.
And those Main Event shows are seen internationally more than a lot of other things. They're seen a lot in international broadcasting plus on stuff. So is Collision on Max too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it all is, I believe. Yep.
There's a good chance that he could see it then, and and people get to check it out, and at least he's going to get some exposure. Any exposure in a positive light is a positive thing. So,
speaking of Ray Jazz, just real quick, and I don't think I got to tell you this earlier. During the show, I happened to speak to Dave Marquez. He's busy during the shows. You can't just sit there and talk to him, but he walked by and I pulled him aside and said, "Man, that Ray Jazz, I mean, that's a good guy to have on the roster." And he goes, "Oh yeah, that's my guy." And I'm thinking, no, that's not your guy. That's Dr. Lawrence Zirconium's guy. He's the one that found that guy.
Yeah, he's from out here. He's really good. Like, I used to see him at Wrestling Open in Worcester all the time. Worcester, Mass, every Thursday night. Like, he's really talented, that dude.
I'm only pretty sure, and it hasn't been confirmed to me, but I'm only pretty sure he'll be a big part of the Gotham wrestling when they start doing that.
I believe so. That makes sense. Yeah.
And now DKM, I mean, again, I know AEW is not your cup of tea, but we were kind of discussing it while I was at the live event. What do you think about Scorpio Sky returning, and what do you think about him being back on AEW? Do you think AEW is going to start bringing some more of its stars back from that we've kind of seen disappear?
Probably not. What I'm hoping is that he's actually back. And this wasn't a matter of convenience of them being out in California, him being out in California, so they decided to use him. So I'm hoping he's, and I don't know. So I'm hoping he's actually back. Being out there in the public is good for a wrestler, and even if it was a one-time thing, that still bolsters him there in the area. Hopefully he'll continue on for a while and they'll actually use him. When it comes to others, I don't know. They were talking recently about the wrestler formerly known as Miro and formerly and currently known as Rusev, about how after his second injury, he and Billy they're one and the same as far as booking is also concerned, but how he and Tony just couldn't agree on what to do with his character. And it kind of the way it came across to me is it kind of sounded like both of them were kind of stubborn about it. Tony would be like, "Well, we could do this," and Miro would be like, "No, I don't want to do that. That's stupid or goofy or whatever." And I want to do more of the serious character, the badass that held the TBS title. before there were 2 other titles to ruin the world. And, Tony would be like, no, I don't really want to do that. And so they were just left at a bypass. So and it sounds like it's that way with several talent. It's not so much that, when they're injured, Tony kind of forgets about them, moves on, and doesn't really know how to put them back in. And he's not really open to any idea that would change what he already has planned.
The interesting thing is, I did see Camille shared on her Instagram. Very recent was the announcement for the Gladiators. Now we knew that Camille was going to be there. We knew that Wardlow was also included on that. I don't know if we knew that Jesse Gooders, aka Mr. Spectacular from OVW, was on it. Also, Rick Boggs, I think was his name, from WWE. He's also a part of it.
Yep.
And I feel like there's another former wrestling talent I can't think of right now, but it does look like there's going to have a lot of former or current pro wrestlers. I don't know, how do we call them former pro wrestlers? Because we haven't seen Camille in a ring in a long time. We haven't seen Wardlow in a ring almost as long as we haven't seen Scorpio Sky in a ring. And I'm wondering, do you think seeing his people, his talents, maybe get over on American Gladiators might inspire Tony to do something different? DK, Rick, Jaden?
Hope.
Anyone?
What was the question?
No.
I'm sorry.
I don't think so.
I don't think. Is it inspire Tony to help get them over? Is that what you're referring to?
Use them.
Yeah, probably not. No, I don't think it matters to him, because I don't think he's that bright enough to think that way, really.
What's wild about it to me, and I'm a business owner, and I'm not saying that look at me, I'm a big rich guy, but you're paying for that, for those people. You are literally paying them while they're not working for you, and they went and got a second job. And that reminds me of those stories that you'd hear on a Reddit, where the guy had a job for 6 years, got fired, and nobody updated HR, and he was still getting a paycheck every month. How does that
Lanny Poffo? Wasn't Lanny Poffo getting paid by WCW for years before they found out?
Lanny Poffo, Christopher Daniels, Honky Tonk Man,
Iron Sheik.
Yep. There was a lot of guys who getting checks just to stay at home or stay in catering. So it's wild to me that's.
Well, Iron Sheik, they forgot they had a rollover clause on him.
Are you positive? I know he was positive.
Yeah. Positive is good, right?
How can positive be bad? Positive is good.
Sorry, Baba. Oh, man. With that being said, I do have some hope for Scorpio Sky that it wasn't just a one-off. And the reason why I say that is because they did partner him with Christopher Daniels, who I know does have some respect within the company. And it seems like they're kind of starting what might be SCU 2.0. And it looks like they're putting Top Flight with the group. So it looks like Christopher Daniels might be the manager, not an active wrestler anymore, but the manager of Sky and Top Flight, which I think sounds like a good way to use Top Flight, because they haven't been used right since Matt Hardy left. So Sean Mega says Christopher Daniels is still wrestling. No, that's the point. He isn't wrestling. But he is still within the company. He's still on the payroll, and evidently is going to be taking over a managerial role for Scorpio Sky, which I think is great, because I don't think again, and Jaden said it, you have coastal bias, and maybe I do. Christopher Daniels was always pretty good on the mic, as far as I'm concerned. I don't remember him having really sloppy promos, but I could be wrong. And I feel like Sky is pretty good on the promos as well. What's interesting? Go ahead.
I was going to say, Christopher Daniels, he hasn't been wrestling, but he's had a role, hasn't he?
Yeah. Well, I think
he has a behind the scenes role, I believe, managerial role behind.
Wasn't he the one that was supposed to be Tony Khan's representative after an acting EVP or VP or XYZ or something like that? He's had some on-screen performance, but I don't follow close enough to know remember exactly what it was. But it seems like he was at one time like Tony Khan's representative or something.
That I have no clue. Yeah.
Well, that's because you got to watch the show, and we don't.
Yeah, I got to make more of an effort. Like the last 3 years, I've tried, but I usually say, "Hey, I'll do that," and then I never turn the channel on. So,
according to Copilot, Microsoft's artificial intelligence, it says that Christopher Daniels was a wrestler and the vice president of talent relations in AEW. He recently retired after years of success in various promotions. Although he no longer wrestles, he remains an integral part of AEW, continuing his role as head of talent relations.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
And Sean Vega says it's time for Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis to make a return if the Fallen Angels out there. Again, Sean, he's not wrestling. He is in a managerial role. Now, not that we're going to get too much into Adam Pearce or Nick Aldis. Either one of those guys, I would like to see at least one more match from both of them. Even though Nick Aldis is an asshole, I mean, he's still a very talented wrestler. And I feel like that dude's still got gas in the tank. I don't know what the direction, obviously at the end of the day, this is a business where you just need to get paid. And if you can stay relevant without taking bumps, I'm sure people would line up for that all day. But you also have to humble yourself quite a bit to say, okay, even though I'm still in prime peak performance, I'm going to take a step back and have a different role with the company in order to have that payday, in order to take care of my family. So, I mean, props to Aldis for making that decision. But I'm kind of surprised he hasn't had at least one match since joining the WWE universe.
I think it's coming. I think he's only been there, a year and a half, maybe? Something like that.
I guess I thought it was a lot longer than that.
No, it's been about a year and a half or so, maybe. But I think it's going to come. I know that, he was having some sort of neck issues, and that's why he ultimately decided to quit and take on that role. But I have a feeling that at some point it's going to happen. That'll come back out, some storyline. I thought it was going to happen at WrestleMania this year, actually, but it didn't. But I have a feeling down the road something may happen. Same thing with Adam Pearce, because I believe they've teased it before. And I'd probably go a little crazy if either of them did come out. Like, something happened the other night and they got involved in something and I kind of popped. I thought that I think at some point Pearce probably before all this, maybe.
I don't know. Pearce, they kind of did something where they were going to have Pearce supposedly wrestle or whatever. And he didn't do much, something like that. And he posted on X or Twitter or whatever it was at the time, something to the effect of, with his knees, it's not, being in the ring's not really in his future. I'm not saying he never will, but
2 points, 3 points. Aldis did start working with the WWE in 23, so he's approaching year number 2.
Okay.
Pearce has said for a very long time that he's got one more spot left on his bump card. And I wouldn't be surprised if he had one more match in the WWE. They did tease it when Roman Reigns was world champion and they were going to do this SummerSlam match. And Reigns was able to pick his opponent and he picked Pearce. And I was excited for it, even if it was going to be just a squash match, just to have that opportunity to see Pearce wrestle one more time. And it basically never amounted to much. I think he was in a unofficial role in a match as a tag team partner once too. Without all that being said, if you follow Pearce on social media for any amount of time, he'd been working in the gym so hard that he looks better now than he did when he was world's heavyweight champion. I don't know if that's still true, but it was just a few years ago. So, what's really funny about all of this is, your boy Jay used to be kind of close with the Scrap Iron Adam Pearce, and we had joked about when Aldis was champ that maybe WWE just lets him have one more match out on the indies and have that, generations, a former world champion versus the current world champion and have that title match of significance. But of course that never came to pass.
Right.
With that being said, one more part over here in Southern California. We were talking about Scorpio Sky, who is currently the number one contender for the United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Championship, or just World Championship, I guess. They did crown a new world champion. Thus, all of my videos now in the bumper are no longer, except for Goldie and Jim Mullen. All the other videos are now like expired because we don't have Sal the Pal in the NWA currently, at least not on TV. Pretty Empowered has split up for quite some time, and now Danny Limelight is no longer your United Wrestling Network World Champion, a belt he held for 933 days, a belt that he defended in Puerto Rico and Alaska, a belt that stayed relevant by putting on matches with the Moose, with Ace Austin, with Eddie Kingston, with really a great list of opponents. He had some really hard-fought battles, and now that he lost the title to Jordan Cruz. Jordan Cruz is a former Heritage champion, a former television champion for the United Wrestling Network, and it seems like the UWN is going in a very different direction as they start creeping into the New York market and all the other territories that they're going to be infiltrating. And I got to ask you guys, and I'll start with you, DCam, what did you think of the 933-day reign of the world title championship run that Danny Limelight had?
I think it was good for what it was. Of course, there was a long stretch where was it UWN, right? United Wrestling, yeah. There was a long stretch where UWN was kind of on hiatus. So that kind of like Aldous' 2-year reign, you kind of had that same thing there where it was like, well, there was a long stretch of no title defenses. But, I mean, I think it was good for, the area, good for what it was. They brought in some good challengers. Is he better known, more successful across the country because of it? I don't know.
Are you saying is Danny more known for it, or are you saying is the United Wrestling Network more known?
Exactly.
Okay. Well, I would agree that Danny became much more well-known commodity, even though it wasn't always the United Wrestling Network World Title. During his title reign, he became a regular for Reality of Wrestling, Booker T's promotion. He became a regular in the Alaskan Pro Wrestling. I don't remember the name. I think it's called 307 Wrestling in Alaska. He did defend the title in Puerto Rico during Championship Wrestling from Hollywood sabbatical, and then he did become the FSW, the Future Stars of Wrestling in Las Vegas champion during that time too. So I would venture that Danny Limelight is obviously, in my opinion, he came out a bigger star because of the title reign. I don't know that you could say the same about UWN because, of course, you're right. It was on a year-long hiatus. Kind of hard to get excited about that. Hell, Danny's going to be at the AAA Lucha Libre event in Tijuana this Friday night, July 4th. Your boy Jay isn't going to make that one. Did too many wrestling shows this week. I can't get the 4th of July off. But my question. Go ahead.
Well, and I'm not trying to downplay either Danny nor UWN. It's just, this goes back to there's a certain reality of I can only watch so much wrestling.
Yeah, sure.
And so, did his reign increase the interest in him and in UWN? And I'm looking at a fan basis as opposed to necessarily a, promoter basis at this moment. Or are there a lot of people out there now that are like, oh, man, I can't wait to see Danny Limelight. Well, I want to see him, of course, because I remember him back from, the early things. I actually haven't seen much of him recently because I haven't watched UWN recently.
Yeah.
But, that's my thing. It's great that he held the title for a long time and had a good reign, defended the title against some top people. In the greater scheme of things, how much of a difference it made in UWN or him. I don't know. It's just a personal opinion.
Yeah, and I can agree with you in saying that I don't know what it did for United Wrestling Network because, again, taking a knee for a year really is going to hold you back a little bit. And, I feel like there's a lot of people talking about UWN right now, but, a year ago they were hung out to dry. I do feel like when you look at the they say like the difficulty of the schedule, right? Like Danny Limelight didn't slow down. Obviously, there were fewer places for him to work under that United banner, but I mean, he was taking on guys from the WWE ID program like Gal, which a lot of people put some stock into. He beat Eddie Kingston right before Eddie Kingston went on that real big run with AEW and New Japan Strong, where he became like that Triple Crown champion. He beat not only did he beat the former champion Jordan Clearwater to win the belt, but he beat Jordan Clearwater a second time. He beat Invictus Cash. Again, going back to, he beat Clark Connors. He beat Tom Lawler, who at one point was an MLW heavyweight champion. He beat a lot of pretty good names. Kenny King, of course, the 2 stars from AEW, Moose, and Austin, Ace Austin. I mean, I feel like that's a difficulty of schedule. I think that's a pretty good list of names to put next to yours as having defeated and defended that title. Rick, I want to get your thoughts on that too, because I know that you, I believe you still enjoy some United Wrestling Network. What did you think of Danny's run?
I think it was a very good run. I like Danny a lot as a professional wrestler. I like the United Wrestling Network a lot as a company. I pretty much keep up on a lot of product. Whatever the territories are that are in existence, currently.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited for a New York market being opened up because it's 90 minutes from me, so I could just drive over there. You know what I mean? There and back on a Thursday night or whatever they decide. And it's I just, outside of myself, outside of like you and a couple other people, I don't know how many people actually watch the United Wrestling Network or keep up with Danny Limelight. You know what I mean? I'm out here in Connecticut, so it's like I think that might be like a regional thing. I'm not sure 100%. I think that some people remember him from his stint in AEW as well. So I really don't know how popular either is and how it would have made a difference to the other. Does that make sense?
I get that.
Yeah,
I get that.
I mean, I watch it I think it's on Sundays here, or on YouTube, and I think it's on some Saturday nights on the New England Sports Network. So, like I said, I don't know how many people are actually watching. I mean, the contract continues on the New England Sports Network, so they must be pretty decent, right? I'm guessing if it's been on there for a couple of years.
Yeah. So. Well, what sucks is, they lost their home channel here, not because they were canceled or anything like that. The channel literally sold to like a church, like a religious organization bought the channel to make it into a religious organization channel. That's why they lost their home. I know that Dave's been looking to find a new home for it, and I know that he's a lot more ambitious about where they want to land. But that doesn't mean that they weren't still producing television for several different markets. And again, I'm excited to see what happens with Crimson. Not Crimson, Gotham Crimson, because I know for a fact that they've been speaking to like some of the more regional sport networks in the area, including Madison Square Garden and Yes, and there's one more that he told me about, the one that the Mets home channel.
Oh shit, I don't remember. Crap, I know that one too. Give me a minute and I'll find it.
You're talking about the network, the Yes Network?
That's not? No, that's the Yankees network.
I thought they do the Mets too.
I thought that. Well, I think it used to not be that way, but
I don't
really know. Baseball sucks.
Hey,
whoa! Hold on a second. I'm about to lose 2 friends here over that statement. So, I like my Red Sox.
Red Sox, really, Rick? Really?
I've been a lifelong dude. I'm a New England guy. I've been in Red Sox.
100% fair. We don't have to agree on baseball. We share the same opinions in wrestling, so that's fine.
And let's see.
Hey, by the way, Rick, if you can make it to Gotham, I think I got a ticket for you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. It's Yeah, I think I should be able to. So I'm really dying to go to that because once it got announced, I was very excited. And my boy Brad Baylor is going to be up there too. So,
if you can get some notes for the website, that'll make it even sweeter. But I think I got a ticket for you.
I definitely will.
Okay, and then Jaden. Now let's get back to Danny Limelight. Obviously, you've been a very big talent scout for promotions. Dangerous German Wrestling Gladiators, NWA Coastal, NWA in New Jersey, period. What do you think of somebody like Danny Limelight? He's a New York native. Obviously, he's been living out here in Southern California. You've seen him in MLW. You've heard about him being in AAA. You knew about him in the United Wrestling Network. What did you think of him as a wrestler? What did you think of him as a champion?
I can tell you this. I know there was for a short time some negotiations before he, in fact, I think you facilitated it for Dr. Zirconium to bring him into Dogs. So that should tell you something right there.
Perfect.
Except for Dave Dahl, Dr. Z's been usually pretty good when it comes to booking talent for Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators.
And Dave Dahl, not for nothing, came off a pretty decent tag team run with him and Dylan Mesh, but they did lose those titles this past weekend.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later, but I definitely am proud of Dylan Mesh for carrying that big load on his back for so long.
Who knew that Dylan Mesh was such a powerful dude?
Yeah, I know. He's like Atlas.
The weight of the
world.
world.
I don't mean Tony Atlas.
Hide your wife, hide your shoes.
Hide your feet.
Hide your feet. Jamming Music Man, what is up? Thanks for coming in. Sean Mega said that, or let's go first. Dave Scooby says, would have loved it if it was the other Jordan who won the UWN title. Missed that guy. As far as I know, that guy is done with wrestling. Now, you can never say never, but I don't think Jordan Clearwater will be making any kind of return to pro wrestling anytime soon.
Yeah, I was wondering what happened. What happened to him? I have no idea because I was thinking about him randomly the other day. So
I think he just lost his the flavor for it. I think he's turned to bodybuilding, and I know that he just had a different, he had a different ideas than what he was being presented with, and obviously, look, he was so good that two different organizations put some of their top titles on him. He was the NWA Television Champion. He was United Wrestling Network World Champion. That says something about what they thought about him as a performer, as a wrestler, as a talent. But at some point, he lost the flavor for it, and I think he's done. But I could be wrong. This isn't from his mouth. I didn't hear this from him, but based on what I know and what I've heard, what I've seen, I think he just fell out of love with pro wrestling.
Never say never in wrestling, though. That's the famous line.
I thought they replaced him with the guy in the NWA.
Doesn't even know what beta alanine is.
Nope.
Then Sean Mega says Limelight's best work was against Ryan Davison in Reality Wrestling. Yeah, I mean he won the ROW Texas title. That's the thing. He was still the United Wrestling Network World Champion, and although he wasn't defending that title in Reality Wrestling or in Future Stars of Wrestling, those territories, those promotions thought highly enough of Danny to put their belts on him for a significant amount of time. So I think that's pretty cool. And some people are speculating that Danny's done. I mean, I know he's got a lot of film roles coming up. He's also trying to parlay his pro wrestling career into a career in Hollywood. I don't think he's done in wrestling, but I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see him in United Wrestling Network for a while.
Speaking of film roles,
I'm sorry. I think there's times where he goes back and forth, right? He'll take time off of wrestling just because he's filming a movie, which is, the same thing with everybody. The Miz just left WWE for a few months to film American Gladiators, and the word is he's coming back soon. So, that happens with everybody, I guess, that if they take a secondary role, like a film role or something like that.
He was supposed to defend the title, I think, back in November in New York. At a sold show, a United Wrestling Network sold show, and he couldn't make it because he was still filming and he wasn't able to get to that event. So yeah, it does happen. And I'm not saying they punished him by taking the belt off of him because of that. I just think, I think the natural progression, after 933 days, I think they were looking to freshen it up. And, honestly, I thought it would be Scorpio Sky to take the title off him, considering he was the number one contender, but obviously now with the announcement of him rejoining the AEW active roster, that might not happen either. Now, Jaden, you were about to say something, so I'll give you that opportunity to say it.
Yeah, speaking of movie roles, did you know Dave Dogg's had a movie role? He's going to play Tyrus. Well, at least he was trying to get that role, but the problem is they couldn't get the military satellites to shoot him.
I thought that was Willie Bowen's thing. You know,
he didn't make the joke today, so I had to get it in there.
Where is he? Where is he?
Actually, he did. He said we can see the definition of the word crap in the dictionary. Tyrus's photo is next to it.
Well, normally you play that joke by now, so I had to throw that in there because I didn't want people to miss it.
You're right.
And I got a Dave Dahl thing in there too.
I just figured that was a good way to burn both of them. You know, a double-edged sword right there.
If you burn both of them, it'll probably take out our entire atmosphere.
If you burn both of them, we could generate enough electricity that we don't need solar panels anymore.
We wouldn't be able to have a planet. We would look like Alderaan.
Oh my god,
you guys are brutal.
What did it look like? What was the planet that Superman and Doomsday? What planet was Doomsday from?
Krypton.
No, not Doomsday. Darkseid. Excuse me.
Apocalypse.
Yeah. That's what it would look like if you burned Tyrus and Dave Dahl.
That's sad.
Volcanic fire just shooting out into space. Well,
and that's just Dave Dahl after he has Taco Bell.
You know, I got to meet Dave Dahl at his 9-to-5 job. Seemed like a nice guy. I don't know why you're so mean to him, Jaden.
First of all, just because somebody's pretending to be nice while they're at work,
they get paid to be nice when they're
and he's not even any good at that.
How much do you have to pay? Because
they couldn't afford you, DK.
I know. I was going to say I don't think any place would.
You'd put Tony Khan out of business. They pay you per smile, though. They wouldn't have to worry about paying anything.
Promise? Can I put Tony Khan out of business? I'm willing.
The only time I ever seen DK smiles when I sent him videos of Yanette Garcia, is that her name, from the Mexican Weather Girl?
I don't. I gotta look at her name, dude.
I know. You don't even know she has a name.
No.
These are the conversations they don't invite me to be a part of. I'm a married man, happily married man. Thank you very much.
Everybody gets sent their stuff. Rick is still new, so I still haven't sent him as much, but mostly he does get some stuff.
You sent me vintage wrestling matches, which I'm perfectly happy with. There's some random thing you found from 1966. It's all right. I'm cool with that.
And Ken Power stuff.
Oh yeah, Ken Powers. That's right.
My preference from Jaden is when he sends me the cartoon commercials from the 80s of all the toys that I loved growing up. Like I get the Transformer toys. I'm like that. That's my happy place. Seeing Devastator combine. Like I bought the bootleg Devastator off of TikTok. Just because Jaden kept sending me these commercials of building the robots, so I had to buy the bootleg version.
Yeah, I sent him all the different things from different Transformers, but I think he got really excited when I sent him the movie G.I. Joe intro.
Oh, that was great. That was a good one.
What had a better movie intro, the Transformers or the G.I. Joe? Because they were both pretty good in those days.
No, Transformers had the better everything, the better soundtrack.
You're talking about the 80s cartoon movie?
Yeah, so they both had movies in the 80s.
Yeah, yes, I remember that. I used to have it on VHS, the Transformers one. Yeah.
I bought it on DVD a few years ago.
I had them both.
It's like a pretty cheesy 80s rock tune that you hear in a movie.
That album slaps. It's so good. The hair metal of the 80s, and then the thing about it is I believe the Transformer movie came out first, if my memory serves me.
Yes.
And they killed Optimus Prime to sell more toys and traumatized thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of kids. And then so when the G.I. Joe movie came out, they only put Duke in a coma. They didn't kill him off because we can't do that to the kids again.
Here's the funny part is the G.I. Joe movie was actually produced first, but came out second. So if the G.I. Joe movie came out first, maybe we would still have Optimus Prime. This is why we celebrate Prime Day, people.
Never forget the sacrifice he made for us.
Yes.
Did y'all see the G.I. Joe YouTube channel? It's like a 24-hour streaming channel. It's all like a big loop. Dude, it's awesome. I discovered it accidentally one night, and I said, this is the greatest thing ever. So I sat there for 2 days watching it.
I spent one entire day watching that, and then another entire day watching Rick and Morty on the same YouTube streaming thing. I was like, wow, this is great. How are they making money with this? I don't care. I'll just keep watching. There's a fly in here. We never get flies in here. Something's going on.
Don't eat in the room.
I'm literally in the most concealed place in my entire house. I don't know how flies are getting in here.
If there's a will, there's a way.
Jeremy's worried about you, DK.
Why?
He's concerned that you might be breathing in hazardous air from the that office space that you're in.
Yeah.
Those IBM computers.
I'll live.
There's more memory in my phone than in that entire office.
Yeah, and yet you don't do anything with your phone other than look at cats or something. I don't know.
Cats?
Yeah, you get the cat video, DK. Sorry, but I'm going to have to call that one. You get the cat videos.
Actually, I send you cat videos too.
Yes, you do, and I appreciate that. Keep doing it.
In fact, that's next week. That's what we're going to be doing here on the Alliance blog. It's going to be nothing but cat videos, 2 hours straight.
DK and I could probably, because we have a collection, we probably could get a couple episodes out of just reviewing cat videos.
Look, we'll just set it up like this, and we'll just have cat videos playing right here. We'll just, hey, that's a nice cat. Hey, look at that one.
Since you have it the format like that, can we watch Connor the Flag Boy getting KNOTFO?
Yeah.
I got it. Okay.
If you can send me do you have the link handy, or do you want me to go find it?
I find it. I know it's a short right now. It's the most recent short, I believe, that's currently active on the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiator YouTube. By the way, while you're at that, check out that YouTube. You're going to get a couple new shorts soon, and you're going to get some matches from the June 28th event at the Sacred Heart Church, located at 103 4th Street in beautiful, historic Riverton, New Jersey. And by the way, thanks everybody who said they were coming, and they didn't. None anybody here, but
who knows?
Only one person. A lot of me people, about 100. According, I was helping Dr. Zacconi plot seats and stuff like that, and about 100 people said they were coming, didn't. Wow. We got about half the crowd that we were expecting, or probably even, slightly better than half the crowd we were expecting.
I have no idea what to say to that.
Shoot them.
I want to.
That's always the best answer. Shoot them.
To make them watch the best of Dave Dahl, which means they're going to have to watch a lot of torturous videos.
See you do that, then they'll want to be shot.
Good, they deserve it.
All right. For your viewing pleasure, with permission from the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, I present to you Connor the Flag Boy. Wait, hold on a second. I almost had it.
Never heard of him.
Yes, you have.
May I present to you Connor the Flag Boy getting knocked out.
Shit, that boxing shit. That's not even wrestling. What are you even doing here? Young Marky? Come on. Yeah, that's right. I want no problem. All right, sit down on my face.
Oh! Down goes Connor. Knocked out cold.
I mean, can you blame Connor for being a little bit upset? Emmanuel kind of costed him the match there.
I had to pull that out. I don't have a permission to use that audio.
Was that off the TikTok or was that off the YouTube?
That was off the YouTube.
It looks similar than TikTok as far as goes.
Those YouTube shorts and the TikToks look very comparable, very similar. I'll go through it. I'll like, what a Rick's video on TikTok, and then later it'll pop up on YouTube. Like, did I like it already?
You can like it on both formats, It's okay.
Yes, please do.
I try to, and like especially when
YouTube. Especially YouTube. I'm really trying to push the YouTube hardcore right now.
Real quick, without getting too much into that talk, I noticed that your channel seems to be you're over 2K now. Good job.
Yeah, well, I told you I'm on the road to 3,000. So I think just a week ago I needed 80 some odd members. Now I just need 60 people to subscribe. So please, for the love of God, if you haven't subscribed, help me get to 3,000. I want to hit it pretty quickly. I'm trying to push it like a lunatic. So.
Well, that's awesome, and I'm of course, we're rooting for you here. And I was watching your video. I forgot with who your host was, but you guys were talking about the Super Clash '85 Super Clash.
Yep, my oldest and dearest friend John, and we had a job together. Met at 15 years old at a grocery store, working together, and it was one of those things where wrestling came up in subject, and we started talking wrestling. We've been friends for over 30 years, so. Every now and again he'll come on and we'll do like a retro AWA, NWA review or something like that. And as you know, I've been kind of really into watching older stuff as of late. So that kind of popped up because the 40th anniversary of Super Clash is coming up in September. So we're trying to review all 4 events by the time that date comes.
Well, it was a great listen. I was listening while I was at work. I jumped in for a minute to say hi, and I believe you guys were talking about Mil Mascaras,
yes,
defending the was it UWA championship, but the promotion had closed and he was just still defending the title.
Is the IWA title from the 70s, yeah, and he went on and defended it for the rest of his life. So it had. When did I close? 75, Jaden, IWA.
I know it was the late 70s. I think it was
77, something like that.
Yeah, I think it was closer to 70. I have to look because it's been a while on that one. But the UWA was once considered a major world's championship. And
that was the first company that attempted to go national as well. So try to break the territory system by traveling throughout the entire country.
Well, now that brings us to we talked briefly about the United Wrestling Network, talked a little bit about AEW, Scorpio Sky's return. Should we talk, Jane? I'm gonna let you direct the show a little bit. Should we talk about the results of All American Bash, or should we go to the news from the NWA and Power results?
Well, I'm trying to avoid Power as much as possible. So give me a second to look up the results, and then I will tell them to you.
I think text me the chat at alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators.
That's where I'm pulling it up, actually.
Beautiful.
At least if my phone's other phone is letting me. It's on the Dog Pro Wrestling website, too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
At dawgprowrestling.com.
Both of those are great.
Your
websites.
third or fourth source of Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators news.
Who's number 2?
Dave Dahl. He's shit.
That was a softball pitch. It was just winding my arm up there and just lobbed it right up for you. Dave Scooby wants to point out Ricky had a great interview on Shut Up and Wrestle. I need to check that out. I will. Maybe I'll even try to get that link up here on the YouTube page here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was a complete honor to sit there and talk with Brian Solomon. And, man, that interview was great. Talking to Brian is great. He lives locally, so I kind of got to meet him a few times here. And, he asked me on. We recorded a while back, and it just came out yesterday. So, it's part of the Arcadian Vanguard podcast with Brian Last, Jim Cornette, all those big podcasts and stuff like that. So, it was fun. It was a really fun conversation. So thanks for checking out. Anybody that's checked it out.
You should bring him with you when you come to a Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators event, because not only can we see South Jersey's number one wrestling promotion, we could talk about Godzilla, because he wrote a book about Godzilla.
He definitely did. He wrote comic book movies. He wrote the book on the original Sheik. He's got a book on Gorilla Monsoon coming out later in the year. I think by September, he said. I'm actually going to see him this weekend at a show. So.
Cool. Well, tell him he's been to shows. Now he's got to go to an event. All right. So the quick result for Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators proudly presents the All-American Bash that took place on June 28th at the Sacred Heart Church in beautiful historic Riverton, New Jersey. Former WWE superstar Tank Tolan beat Jack Martins. It was a really competitive match. Jack gave him much more than I think people would think he would. And Tank Tolan came out victorious with his Polish Hammer-like move that's called the Tank Turret. Samuel Thompson won a hard-fought battle against Dad Bod. He didn't want to touch him. Didn't want to touch his shirt. Didn't want to touch his hat. Didn't want to touch his glasses. But he ended up, with the help of Valerie Vermin, coming out victorious. Speaking of Valerie Vermin, she defeated the number one contender to the World Wrestling Grand Prix Women's Champion, Stevie Brooks, successfully defending her championship. Stevie was a powerhouse and controlled a lot of the match. But Samuel, of course, he has to help Valerie too. And Valerie snuck away with that World Wrestling Grand Prix Women's Championship. Nick Bati took on Getty Cahoon. That was a good match, and Nick Bati came out. Primal Fear are our new Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Tag Team Champions. They defeated Daredevil Dave Dahl and Dylan Mesh. Dylan Mesh's back finally gave out, carrying that big turret around with him. And Dave Dahl took the pin, and now we have new Tag Team Champions in Primal Fear. D-Get Bundles manhandled Connor the Flag Boy. And then, of course, afterwards, you saw what happened with world-ranked bantamweight boxer Emmanuel Rodriguez. E.N. Bash and former dog champion Justin Adams defeated the Helm. I actually skipped over a match. David Goley defeated the extremely tough challenge of Nick Camarado. You might have seen Nick in AEW, and pretty soon you're going to see him in Game Changer Wrestling, but we won't hold that against him. Well, I might.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, we will.
Former World Wrestling Grand Prix champion Biggie Biggs defeated Silver Lobo in a fun match. And in the main event of the evening, Vinny the Fixer, with I don't know why there's so many spaces in between Vinny and the Fixer on that, so I have to figure that one out. Successfully defended the championship against Marvelous. Next upcoming events are going to be at the Monmouth County Park System for the Monmouth County Fair. It's going to be June 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th. We're going to have matches and little mini cards all the way through that night. And if you ever heard of Nicole Atkins, she's apparently something with American Idol. I've just found that out recently. It tells you how much I know about music and American Idol. But she is actually there, and she's got something. For some reason, she's got a Jones in the smack at Valerie Vermin around. So she wants to get involved in the wrestling. And, some people don't belong, celebrities don't belong in wrestling. Valerie Vermin might put her in her place, and instead of putting her American Idol, make her America's next top corpse.
All right. Sounds good to
I don't know how to respond to that.
Positively. Like Iron Sheik. Positive's got to be good.
Iron Sheik is always positive.
It's truth.
Okay, so I think the other interesting thing of news that happened this week that we haven't got to yet with the NWA, obviously they too had their television tapings this past July 1st. Now these will be the TV tapings that will lead us to the 77th anniversary show. During those tapings, a couple of names were reintroduced to the NWA, and I don't want to give out spoilers for those, mostly because I wasn't there. And so I'm reporting on secondhand information. So I won't get too much into it, but the one name that was leaked that we now see on the official flyer for the 77th anniversary show, which, would be a good time for me to have the flyer handy, but I don't, is Rich Swann. Rich Swann will be making his return to the NWA. First time in the Lightning One era, but he had wrestled for the NWA in years past. And in this version of the NWA, we are getting a former WWE Cruiserweight Champion. The 205 Live title was held by Rich Swann. We're also going to see a man who was a former TNA Impact World Champion. I mean, he ended up losing that belt to Kenny Omega during the whole AEW TNA fiasco. He's a former TNA debacle. He was former TNA X Division champion, former TNA Digital Media champion. He's held titles in the UK with, I believe it was Ricochet and Rev Pro. They had held the tag titles. So a pretty exciting, the word I'm looking for. Addition.
Acquisition.
Acquisition. The perfect. Because again, he's a guy who has a wealth of experience and he's coming into the NWA. He's, and this is a guy that has, again, wrestled for Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, wrestled for Evolve, wrestled for MLW. We're not going to hold it against him, but wrestled for Combat Zone Wrestling, worked for Lucha Libre AAA, worked for Maple Leaf Pro, worked for Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. He's been in a lot of different places. He's probably one of the more talented, well-versed competitors to join the NWA roster as of late. And, again, I want to get your guys' take on this. We'll start with you first, DCAM. What are your thoughts on Rich Swann? What do you think of him coming to the NWA?
Well, hopefully he's coming for more than just a match or two. I would like to have them bring him in and then put like the junior heavyweight title on him. Former TNA World Heavyweight Champion, former Cruiserweight Champion WWE. That adds a lot of credibility to the title that some of the recent champions don't have. And so it kind of takes it back more to like Homicide when he held the title. And, we've had 2 or 3 champions since then that I don't know that they'd hold major titles in any of the major promotions, whereas Swann already has.
Yeah, and that's absolutely true. Again, he's got an edge on almost anyone else that's been in the NWA in that he has held World Championship Gold in other places, and he has held Championship Gold almost everywhere he's been. He's versatile in that he could be a tag team wrestler. He's competed at the heavyweight division. You got to remember, he took the belt off of Moose to become TNA World Champion, and Moose is no small guy at all. He's a big dude. And he's also is a former WWE Cruiserweight Champion. Again, that 205 Live tournament, I don't think he was a part of the actual tournament, but he did hold that title, and that was a significant title for the WWE at the time. So a lot of things to say about Rich Swann. Jaden, what do you have to say about Rich Swann? What do you think about this signing, or at least appearance with the NWA?
A lot of people think of Rich Swann as a flippy guy, and he can be. But he is actually a really serious wrestler, too. He can wrestle. So if they can bring some of that, more of that out of him in the NWA, where it's theoretically more appreciated, at least what you would think of the NWA, I think he'd be a positive acquisition, and not just the Iron Sheik way, for the National Wrestling Alliance. And honestly, they could use the star power. He's got some star power now. So they could use that. And credibility. They could use that, too.
Rick, I'm curious as to what you think about Rich Swann. What do you think about him coming to the NWA? And the bonus question that I'll ask the other two guys is, what role do you think he'll have in the company?
I'm going to go ahead and agree with Jaden that the NWA needs some star power. That's exactly what I was thinking before you said that. And I feel that what's his name? Rich Swann is that guy. You know what I mean? He's been all over in every major promotion. Since he wasn't in AEW, right? He hasn't been there, but every other major promotion besides AEW, and he's held gold pretty much everywhere. And I think it's going to be a great addition to the roster. Hopefully, he's not sticking around for just 1-2 matches or what have you. I think it's going to be you're going to have to see it, and like DK said, maybe put the junior heavyweight championship on him. It'll maybe add some prestige back to that title after the last, it hasn't been really necessarily a serious title since Homicide held it. Or maybe Colby. Did Colby take it from him? I'm trying to remember the lineage.
It
was Homicide and Colby, right?
No, Homicide, Morton, Colby.
Morton. Okay.
Was there somebody in between?
No, I think that sounds about right, because and then Alonzo.
Alonzo and Taylor.
So it might add, because the last couple holders of that title didn't really do much with the belt. You know what I'm saying? So I think possibly if Rich Swann came in, he'd add some star power to the company, and then maybe lift that belt up back to where it could be.
Well, I was very unhappy when they put the title on Alonzo. Discord loves him, but Discord loves some weird people.
I mean, I don't think they really did much with him either once he got the belt either. He lost it relatively quickly, right? He signed the contract with the company, and then he was gone a couple months later.
I think he held it for a little while. I don't remember. I mean, it wasn't a very short reign.
Right. But and Alex Taylor seems to be hold it forever, and I don't think we really even ever see him defend the title, right? Unless it's like
it's been a while.
Unless it's an actual event or he's defending it on the territories or what have you.
Right. When he first won it, he kind of defended it semi-regularly, but then since then, not so much. All right, let's see what we have here. La 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 la. All right, Homicide held it, and he held it for 237 days. Kerry won it and held it for 287 days. Colby held it for 189 days. Alonzo held it for 118 days, so that's just over 3 months. And then he lost it because he wouldn't sign the contract. And that's when they kind of put on Taylor unexpectedly. But then Taylor's been champion for over a year. And again, this goes back to what I was talking about. Their champions are getting stale.
Yes.
And
then the other thing about that, all these people getting stale, it seems like there's a lot of double champions in the damn company as well, which is just because you're trying to refresh something or somebody's leaving or what have you. It's like they just put it on somebody that's already got a belt. And it's like, it's kind of, when you have that many double champions in the company, what's to say about your company or your competitors, really? You know what I'm saying?
They have a very small roster.
Yeah, well, that needs to change because I mean I know they're on a lot more limited budget than say obviously than WWE and the other one, whatever it's called. But you know they need more variety in that, or take a lot of the titles away. They also have too many titles away for a 38-minute show that they have once a week as well.
So think about that. Here are the current NWA champions and how long they've held the title so far. So Tom Latimer, who's at 307 days, so he's just short of a year. Alex Taylor at junior heavyweight, 371 days, so he's just past a year. Television title, of course, is new. Brian Idol, 48. National heavyweight champion is Mims. He's at 307 days with Tom Latimer. The Mid-America Championship, which the title that goes around the territories and is never depended on the NWA proper, has only had one champion under Lightning One, and that's Jeremiah Pluckett. He's at 398 days, and you don't really ever know what's happening to that title unless you just follow Plunkett. Murnox is also at 398 days. They're actually the longest reigning Lightning One tag team champions. And then the U.S. tag team title has been a little bit unstable. And so it's currently held by the Southern Six, who've held it. Although we just saw the title change, they've actually held it for 104 days so far.
Okay.
Kylie Page is at 677 days.
You said Kylie, you meant Kenzie.
Kenzie Page, yes, you're right. Kenzie Page is currently at 677 days. Freudian slip. Again, Tiffany Nieves, who we just recently saw win the title, has already been champion since February 2nd, so that's 152 days. And again, been tag team champion for 104 days, even though we just saw the title change last week. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of their champions have been champions for a long time, have won the titles around the same time, and they don't have a big roster. You don't sit there and go, who's the next champion. It's almost like, who there's really worthy of a championship run, and people would struggle with almost every title.
Jay, what's the turnover time as far as TV tapings to air dating, starting to air for the United Wrestling Network?
You got about a month.
About a month.
Like the stuff that they filmed today, Tuesday, will probably air in August. Maybe the second week of August they'll start airing. And the thing about it is, like, DK was just going over some of those title changes. Those all happened at Hard Times, which there is still at least one more episode of Hard Times, unless they're stretching this thing out even further with the two matches, the world title match and the world tag team title match. But that was filmed back in March, and we're now in July, the first week of July. And in my estimation, and this hasn't been decreed by anyone in the front office, right? But in my estimation, they're probably going to hold off on Natty Neidhart and Kenzie Page until they debut on Roku, which will be July 29th. So we're looking at, unless they start airing some of the Crockett Cup, I'm not sure what we're going to get the next few weeks on Power, because they've got, as far as I can tell, they've got one more episode of Hard Times. And then
they've done so far.
That's a great question. I don't know. I think it's been 5 episodes. Because remember, they just stretched out the last 2 to 2 matches. They just literally this week and next week, it looks like there's just going to be the two matches. So I'm going to pull it up right now. I'm looking on Cage Match again. Cage Match is not always 100% factual, but it gives you a nice idea. And as I'm looking here, trying to find where they list the events. So this week was Hard Times Part 5, and we still have 2 more matches. The results, it's funny because the results for Hard Times 5 show episode 5 of Hard Times 5. It shows that there was 2 more matches on this card. There was not. Those 2 matches will appear more than likely next week. So they stretched out that Signature Live event, which should be like 6 episodes.
Right. Typically they do 5 per Signature Live event.
Now, Shaw Mega says the tapings are about to get closer. Yeah, I mean, so here's the deal, right? So we've got Crockett. Well, okay, let's discuss it. I mean, that's what we have this forum for, right? So we know that Crockett Cup was filmed back in, what was it, April? And
yeah.
And Jaden and I were there. And it was a fairly good card. I think when people watch it, they're going to be happy with it.
It was May. I'm sorry. I believe it was May. The second week of May. Because that's the my week of my wife's surgery and stuff like that. So that's why I didn't end up being
okay.
That's how I remember the date. But yeah.
So they filmed they filmed Hard Times in March. Then they took a sabbatical from TV taping. They did an event. It was like a non-televised event in Sacramento, the Great Cheese Truck Festival, which would have been cool if they would have filmed that, because I would have loved to seen those matches in a park, and seen what the reaction would be from a non-wrestling fan standpoint, them putting on those matches. That to me would have been a lot of fun to see on Power. And but I don't think those were filmed. Then that takes us to the Crockett Cup. And if they do 5 or 6 matches out of that, or 5 or 6 episodes out of that, that would, theoretically that would start on. So next Tuesday would be what? Next Tuesday would be the 8th. So like on the 15th would be like the first episode of the Crockett Cup, theoretically, unless they somehow stretch it out or bring in some, non-televised matches that they have in the can. And then, so then you'd have 2 weeks of the Crockett Cup, and then Roku. So then your premium parts of the Crockett Cup will probably be reserved for the debut on Roku, including the Crockett Cup finals, Kenzie versus Natty, and of course Rhino, Colby, and world champion Tom Latimer. I'm assuming those will be the 3 main events for the first 3 episodes of the Roku. and then they just filmed the TV tapings on Tuesday in Tampa, which are supposed to bridge the gap to the 77th anniversary show. So, I mean, I don't think Sean Mega's wrong,
right?
But it's not going to be. There shouldn't be 3 months of lead time anymore. But I still think it's not going to be monthly like it is for Championship Wrestling from Hollywood.
Right.
I think if they do split the Crockett Cup up, I think that's bad. I think they should find ways of either doing a best of minute thing or, something, and then just make it so that it is the Crockett Cup debuts on their new channel. I think that's their best foot forward.
Post it as an event as opposed to various episodes, like weeks in it, 4 or 5 episodes or whatever.
Well, we also have to think about it too. The format that they're going to be releasing on Roku Sports is a 1 hour spot, right?
Yeah.
So they'll, it's a 45-minute TV show, and you throw in a couple advertisements, you're going to stretch it out to an hour. That is not built for a signature live event. So the Crockett Cup, at least it won't air as one single episode. But I think what Jaden is saying is don't air any of the Crockett Cup episodes on X. Either use filler episodes from X before the Crockett Cup. Is that what you're saying, Jaden?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Use filler episodes or something, and then debut the Crockett Cup episodes on Roku.
Gotcha.
Okay. Well, and they're under no obligation to air episodes on X right now. I mean, if they don't run another episode on X, it's not like they're disappointing X. It's not like they're not fulfilling an obligation to X. It's not like they break a contract with X. It's really just the disappointment of the fans who've been looking forward to the show and they've been kind of regimented to watch it every Tuesday. So if there's not something on X on next, after the hard times, then it is what it is. They don't even have to run best of episodes, although I would recommend that they do something because, people forget very quickly in the pro wrestling.
Right.
Plus, they could probably maybe slightly run advertisements that they're moving on those best of or whatever they're going to use.
Well, they have been using those during the match. They have those graphics pop up like, hey, starting July 29th, we'll be moving to Roku, which I think that's the smartest thing that they've done in a while, to be quite honest with you, because it's really giving fans enough.
They're actually advertising it as opposed to just jumping ship. So,
and I don't believe they did that with CW. I don't believe they said, okay, well, pretty soon we'll be on X. I think it's just like, oh, all of a sudden we're no longer on X.
Yeah, I think all of a sudden.
I went to go look for it one day and it wasn't there. Like hadn't been updated. And then I think I found out from you, Ed. I think I messaged you and then you told me. So.
Well, they didn't say anything till the end. Yeah. Basically, everybody figured out they were leaving was because CW on the app said shows only available until X date. And so like all the fans were talking about it. And NWA didn't say, jack shit about it.
And you remember a lot of people are like, oh, they're going to a different streaming service, and people are getting really excited. And it's like, no, man, they're just not on this application anymore.
Hey, some people think that this is somehow a big money deal, which I highly doubt.
I think the Roku is going to be a very good move for them. I mean, big money, I don't know.
I think I do agree that I think it's a positive move, but I want everyone to temper expectations because it's not like Roku came in and said, how do we become 50-50 partners, Billy? How do we get in the power business? Right. I think it's going to be, here's an opportunity for you to showcase your show. We can work out advertising deals later. And we make something, you make something. It's a win-win. I think probably what's better for the NWA, at least, it's not just one, it's two. You're also re-showing your older episodes on Roku that I'm assuming are generating at least advertising dollars that way. And it's the older stuff that's already been taped. You're not filming new content for it. You're not marketing it. You're not rehashing it. All you're literally doing is uploading the content to that Roku channel and they're airing it. And I believe that they're making money that way. And some of those are like pay-per-views that you and I paid for, right? We all paid to watch that. and now they're airing them for free and earning money on the advertising dollars. So at least for a business standpoint, they're getting some ROI on those videos. I don't know that they're going to get a return on the investment being on Roku, but I feel like there's a better opportunity for them to make money than what they were doing on X.
Dave Scooby's got a good comment here. It's like with doing the a show doing like the NWA talent from the territories and stuff like that. It seemed that a couple times when Billy ran out of footage, he used Kazana footage or whatever, like back to the territories. And it would be cool to kind of just, sometimes go to those territories and do television tapings, with Crossfire or what's the other one? Exodus or what have you. And, it would be cool to feature that and have some different talent to show more variety in the roster of the NWA with the territories. Like, that's what we used to get back in the day watching Jim Crockett Promotions. Sometimes guys from different territories would just come in for a couple shots.
Well, here's my thing.
Let's see it.
Despite the fact that he brought back territories, I don't think Billy Corgan gives a shit about territories.
I don't think he does either. I don't think he really gives much other than using the name and then probably buying in on the name or whatever.
Right. And so I don't know what the deals are that are worked out or anything like that. Again, 2 of the territories are held by, one's still held by the current champion. The other one's held by a former champion. I don't, what happens when they decided they don't want to wrestle in the NWA anymore or whatever.
Right.
And, okay, sorry, I'm going to go left field, and I need your guys' opinion on this. Did you see the poster that just said NWA on it that featured horrible pictures of talent that nobody knows?
Yes.
Yes, because they sent it to you.
Yeah, I actually saw it beforehand. I just ignored it. But when you sent it to me, I was like, what? Jay, do you have that anywhere? Can you get that?
Let me look for it while you guys are talking.
So Rick can see it. Basically, Duke City Wrestling, NWA Mexico,
New Mexico,
put out this horrible looking poster. Well, I shouldn't say horrible, amateur looking poster. And right in the middle, it just says NWA. Not NWA New Mexico. There's nothing that tells you there's an address, but it doesn't give like city or anything like that. The way we basically figured out it was Duke City was because it was DCCW tickets.
Okay.
And so it was just, I mean, if I were Billy, and I saw this, I'd be on the phone going, take this down, get rid of it, get it off the things. At least put New Mexico, don't, because when you first see it, you think, oh, they're doing a show, Billy's doing a show somewhere, or he's having some group do a show somewhere with this thing. They would go, who are these people? I don't know any of these people. And they're all like one name people. It's like Bob and Sam and George and Harry, or, more wrestling type names, but you know what I mean. And,
I actually think they're going to contact you, Jay, about publicity because they were talking to the representatives of Dog because the Dog made a comment about them, and some of the wrestlers are actually going to reach out to you apparently because they want to be taken as a serious promotion, but they're kind of oblivious on how to be. Is the best way, I guess, is how it was described to me. So, yeah. So maybe we could improve. Maybe we could be in charge of helping and actually making them improve.
I mean, I'd love to. Look, I don't think I hear what DK is saying, and I will say this: people don't know what they don't know, right? And I agree. I feel like that was a very amateurish looking advertisement for their show. And I feel like, there's a lot of talented poster creators out there, including our friend Hebon, who used to be the photographer for the NWA, he does some great work out there. But with that being said, like that, nobody's working for free either. And I don't blame them for having a bland graphic. I don't or a poster, but I do feel like the level of professionalism is kind of suffered, and it would do everyone a bit of good in the NWA to kind of have that higher standard. And that's one of the things that Bruce Tharp got a lot of negative publicity about, was trying to keep everyone to have a uniformed look, and the idea of franchising out similar to like a McDonald's, and that if you go to an NWA promotion in St. Petersburg, it's going to be the same NWA promotion as you're going to go to in New Mexico, as you're going to go into California. It should look
look-wise, yes. Like they did the referee shirts.
Yes.
And then everyone got mad because they were going to make the referees buy the shirts, and it's like, referees already have to buy their own shirts.
Well, and the thing about it is, like, I'm a different person now than I was 10 years ago. But I mean, I look at it and like the idea was that you were just trying to make it look better. You're trying to make it look more professional. And there's a whole bunch of things they could have done to make it look better, that they just, some of the territories back in the days just chose not to aspire to have a great looking product. And some of them were very content with just having blah, and you guys remember that.
And that was always the trouble. When Dave Marquez was on the show, and, I go, whatever did happen with the tournament? Because, they were, the Return to Glory or Return of Glory, whatever the tournament name was. And, he said the problem was that they farmed it out to the independents, and they all had, to different promotions. They all had a different look. They all had different quality of camera. One place had a camera that was tilted for the entire show. No one ever straightened it up or anything like that. He said, they just couldn't put out something that looked that bad.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, DK.
No, I've talked too much. Your turn.
I found it on the website. I found it on the
I just found it too.
Hobo Hank is their new NWA New Mexico champion. It's like, what kind of? I don't even know. Like, I'm appalled that this dude, he looks like a homeless person. Obviously, he's supposed to be. That's the gimmick. But I'm appalled that the NWA is supposed to look at this. That's not nearly as bad as he made it out to be. But it's still not very good either. But it's very amateurish.
And actually, the only thing I really care about is, if you're looking right here in the middle of the screen, it says NWA.
Yeah.
Not NWA New Mexico, not Duke City, and the NWA. There's nothing there that lets me know that was a territory thing, other than you're just looking at it and going,
it's
what?
A random independent that's affiliated in the early 2000s, maybe. So, because there was a lot of weirdo promotions back then around that time period as well, like affiliates.
And again, like, so what is the crime here? The crime is that they should have done a better job of advertising the NWA New Mexico affiliation, as opposed to just calling it the NWA. Now, when I look at this poster, and again, what's the big logo that's not NWA? Hollow Spirits. Where is the location at? Hollow Spirits. Maybe this wasn't a poster generated by Duke City Wrestling. Maybe it was Duke City Championship Wrestling. Maybe it was a poster designed by Hollow Spirits, and that's why. Because if you go and look on the Duke City website, a lot of their graphics look much better than this. If you go to,
I'm looking at it now. Yeah. So,
and that's not to say that they don't have like terrible names for wrestlers. I'm not saying that at all, because like I'm looking at it, and that was one of the first thing I said too, was like Hank the Hobo, like. What?
Yeah, that's atrocious to me personally.
And I know that they've had guys on their roster who are a little bit better. We know that, or I know anyways, that both Natalia Markova has appeared for them, as well as Brian Idol.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the roster, and I'm trying to pull that up now. Like, you're right, Hobo the Hank looks pretty rough. But you look at they've had Jacob Fatu on the shows in the past. I look at a guy with Turbo Tony. He looks like he's in good shape. Look at Phoenix. He looks like he's in good shape. There's a couple of guys on the roster that look like they could show up on Power. There's a couple of guys that look like they shouldn't be anywhere near the NWA at all.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
No, go ahead. I want you to finish what you're saying before you get.
I'm just, as I'm going through the roster, I see like a guy like Journey Fatu, and he's again part of that bloodline dynasty. I mean, he's on the low end of it, but he's still part of that. He's part of that dynasty. I've seen Journey Fatu. I've seen the Samoan dynasty, and Jaden knows this. It doesn't just extend to what we're seeing in WWE programming. There's a lot of guys in the Northeast. There's a lot of guys out here on the West Coast in Las Vegas, and Sefa Fatu, Solo Sikoa used to wrestle as Sefa Fatu along with Journey Fatu, and they were an independent version of the Bloodline, and so like having guys get opportunities, I'm all about that. But yeah, it's a promotion that certainly could benefit from some more goodwill from NWA fans, but at the same time, like they should be doing something to, they need some work. And again, I'm not blaming them for this poster. I don't know who designed it.
Well, I blame them for putting it out.
Okay.
I mean, look, is it the worst poster I've ever seen? No. But is it a good poster? No. Is it a little bit misleading? Yes. Is it weird how they only use first names or one name on the talent that has multiple names? Sure. I mean, can you pull it back up real quick?
Yeah.
That's one thing in wrestling that drives me nuts is people that just use a singular name.
Okay, like Fallon up here at the upper left.
Yep.
See, like I've seen her wrestle on YouTube. I've seen her other places, stuff like that. She's actually got a fair amount of talent and everything like that. She goes by Fallon Gray. And so that's kind of what gets me. It's like, whether they produce the thing or not, they're the ones putting it out, and you got to take some responsibility for what you're putting out. I mean, if I wrote you a junk sign of, said, buckets for rent that looked like, it was scribbled by a 4-year-old, but you go and hang it up on outside your business, it doesn't do you any good to say, well, I'm not the one that made the sign. You're the one putting it out on your business.
No, and like, I agree with you on that, right? I do agree. Like, look, there's got to be some quality control. And again, if I'm, who designs all the thumbnails you guys see here on YouTube? This guy. Well, correction. Jeremy, Championship Wrestling from Jeremy, I give him total control to do all the graphics that they produce for the other Alliance guys. But the crisp, clean logos that you see for this podcast and for the Alliance guys, or the Alliance guys, the Alliance blog, and the pre-party with J Cal, those are all designed by me. I'm very amateur. I'm not a professional at all, but they look decent. I'll give myself decent. It doesn't take much to be decent. If I was running a wrestling event, you know what I would not be doing? Designing the poster. I wouldn't. If I was running a professional wrestling event, I would have someone who's a little bit more professional than me design that poster. Someone who's got a skill set that I don't have. Now, again, money talks, and everything else walks. I'm not trying to defend the use of this graphic, and to DK's point, if it doesn't look to your standard, then why would you allow that poster to represent you? I don't know, man. I don't even see that poster on Duke City Championship Wrestling's website. So I don't know where that poster came from. Maybe that's the poster that the bar put up for that. And again, to DK's point, that should be removed, and they should be replaced by a poster that's more congruent to a positive wrestling environment. With that being said, I don't know what Duke City numbers are. I don't know how popular these shows are. I don't know how widely attended it is. There was something about it that spoke to Billy. And I don't think it's money. I don't think Billy's getting a paycheck for people signing up for the NWA banner. I think there's something more to it. And this isn't NWA.
Right. I'm looking at their ticket prices, and for this venue. It's like they're kind of high. I mean, they have like VIP seating for like 4 tickets for $129 for an event like this. I feel like that's kind of high. That's just my opinion. General admission is $22.95 for a singular ticket, which to me that's just a little bit. I feel like that's a high price of a ticket, and
I agree.
that they're charging. And some of them are even more. Ringside is $44. It's kind of weird.
I agree with you on that. Those do seem pretty high on the ticket prices. And my curiosity is who's setting those prices. Is it Duke City or is it the other company?
Venue? Yeah.
Yeah. Because if this is a sold show, which I don't know. I don't have any facts here. We're just all speculating.
Right.
But
this is a new brand, right? This is a newer brand. When did they join?
Yeah. I see a post. I just went to their Facebook page. There's a poster that's called Battle at the Block. And although it is not, it's one wrestler. It's a lot of logos and advertisements on the poster. It looks a lot more engaging than the poster that we're looking at. I'll try to bring it up here on the board here if I can. Let me see here. The one thing that's missing on that one is the date. I don't see a date for that event, but again, we're all speculating here, and I don't know. I don't know who designed these posters, and again, if it was created by the venue, to DKM's point, it's not a good excuse. They should contact the venue and be like, that's not a good looking poster, but this is a lot better looking event poster, if you ask me. And that's for their July 19th event.
Yeah, that's definitely better.
And I see this poster, and this is for June 21st. It's an event that already passed. But, I mean, you could see there's a significant difference there.
Yep.
So, maybe it's a learning process. Maybe this was the poster they put out and said, hey, you know what? This isn't good. Let's do better. And then you got this. I do know that, like I said, we've had Brian Idol show up. We've had Natalia Markova show up. In the past, they've used guys like Manny Lemons, who's well known in the West Coast.
I like him a lot. Yeah.
There's a lot of pretty good talent that's involved with the promotion. But yeah, a bad poster could really poison it all. And I do hope that whatever it is, if this was the event that put the poster up, or if this was their poster, whatever, I hope that they've learned their lesson and decide to use at least better art when it comes to promoting their events in the future.
Right.
And Jaden, I mean, I've seen you, Jaden, go from venue to venue, cut businesses to hang posters. And how much is that poster significant? Like, how much does that draw business, or not business? How much does that draw people to purchase tickets with a good poster?
I was kind of handling the door for Dr. Zirconium at this last event.
Okay.
The two places that apparently, despite the podcasts and the radio spot and the everything else that's out there, the two things that got the most attention were the posters and Facebook, in that order. So I'd say the large majority of the crowd came because of the posters, and then a smaller majority came because of YouTube. Not YouTube, Facebook.
Right.
So I'd say it was probably like a 70-30 split, or maybe like a 7-25, and then the 5% is everything else.
Yeah.
Maybe. Including wrestlers, like, hey, my husband's wrestling on the show. Which then I had to explain to them that we don't run shows, we run events. And that happened a lot that day. But, yeah. I would say the poster is extremely important. You can do what you need to do. People don't really read the newspapers like they used to. They don't really watch commercials on television like they used to. They don't really listen to radio like they used to. But they all walk around and see stuff. They go to pizza places and see that poster hanging in that pizza place. They go to ice cream places. They go to coffee places. They go to taco places. They go to breweries, and they see them hanging in there. Recently, Richard Holiday, who has an event coming up, asked promoters where they've had success promoting the business, putting up posters. And a lot of them said the same stuff. The people who are actually promoters, not fans, he didn't ask the fans, but fans had to put their 2 cents in. But a lot of the actual promoters said very much the same things. Some of the very similar things. I think Dr. Zirconium had more than others, but at least you saw there was a lot of common themes on that one.
And that's a big event that he's putting together too.
Yes.
That's like already it's a stacked show, and not even half the talent has been announced for it. So I'm wishing Richard luck on that show. I'll be out of town, so I won't be able to attend. It's right down the road from my house.
Isn't that a bummer?
Yeah,
just down the road from your house, and you're missing it.
Yeah, my niece is getting married, so I'm going to be in North Carolina. I can't wait for the summer to be over. All these weddings will be done with, and I won't have to miss any more wrestling.
There is, like I said earlier, AAA is running in Tijuana again, the second time since WWE has, announced the acquisition. Of course, it hasn't gone through yet, but I'm like, I need to go because you never know if this is the last time they're going to run in that venue. And it's like every time they run it, there's something important going on.
Yep.
This time it's the 4th of July. So I'm not going down to TJ on the 4th of July. And the last time I think it was the Crockett Cup. So I missed out on that one. And then to make matters worse, Mecha Wolf, friend of the show, friend of Jay Cal. I love me some Mecha Wolf. I'll go watch Mecha Wolf whenever I can. I've seen him more in Mexico than I have in the United States. And there was literally a venue 10 minutes from my house. They did like 4 shows in this venue before they got kicked out. But Mecha Wolf was on each one of those shows. And each time, like, something came up. It was my wife's birthday. It was my daughter's birthday. It just something happened, and I couldn't make it. I was like, man. But then they lost the venue. So
yeah, I got a lot of shows this year that I've had to miss because of family stuff, which obviously family is more important. But I think after the summer, I've missed more wrestling this year because of family events.
Wait. Did you just say family is more important?
I mean, I like to say, I mean, don't tell my wife that I don't think that's the case, but
I just always remember the famous story about that one golfer who was out there golfing, and the 9th hole's kind of by the road, and so all of a sudden this funeral procession goes by, and the guy stops and takes his hat off and bows his head until the funeral procession passes, and then he goes back and his caddy goes, I don't think I've ever seen you do anything like that. He goes, that was very respectful. He goes, well, I was married to her for 55 years, I figured.
I had no idea where you were going to go with that one, but nicely done, sir. Nicely done.
Anyhow,
I want to point out something that Noob said before we get to Power, and we're going to do Power quick tonight because we're already up against it. But the Alliance blog, Natalia Markova and Brian Idol always appear in some of the NWA territories, whereas the rest of the roster are exclusive to some of the territories. I think the reason why is because I believe that Brian Idol's role within the company is more than just in ring. I think Brian Idol's role in the company is also a talent scout and as also a promoter for the NWA. So he's looking to find the next, to coin the term from Jaden, zirconium in the rough. They're looking to find the next big guy, and I don't feel like that is wasted in the territory system. And we're starting to see guys from the territory system make their way to the main roster. Obviously, we saw Dante Casanova recently show up. What's the guy's name? Doesn't matter. Guys from the roster from the territories are starting to make their way to the main roster, and I think that's what you want. And in reality, I kind of wish that Brian Idol would have challenged our pal Jeremiah Plunkett for that Mid-American Championship. Not because I don't think Jeremiah Plunkett's a good Mid-American champion, but it had been fun to see them maybe swap that title around a few times and have that title travel a little bit more around in the territory system and be a true traveling territory title. I love JP, and I wish she was booked on every single NWA event there was.
Yeah.
But we know what Brian Idol will be, and I think it would be good for that belt to be represented in a way where it was seen more frequently. And again, I wish Jeremiah Plunkett had that role. Like, let him be the gatekeeper. Let him be the talent evaluator for all the guys in the territory. Like, if you're ready to go to Power, you got to get through Jeremiah Plunkett first. He's got to give us a thumbs up or the thumbs down. And if you get the thumbs up, great. Welcome to Power. And if you get the thumbs down, that means you just got to keep working harder to get that next step. At least that's my opinion.
Speaking of Brian Idol, and then it makes me think about the Mexico, because I believe him and Markova were on that territory. Yes. I think Pollo inadvertently let us know why the Mexican territory is what it is, and it's because it draws well. The NWA is looking for those out-of-the-wall, unusual places to start running where they could draw a big crowd, kind of like they did in Dothan, Alabama.
Yep.
And if the new Mexican promotion does well, it draws really well with what they have, maybe they could do even better with a full NWA card there for maybe a signature live event or something like that. And I think that's why we're seeing this promotion.
100%.
It's a foothold into a territory that they can start drawing big crowds, hopefully.
And think about it this way too. And this isn't to disparage the fine people of New Mexico. And I know our pal DKM would like to be one of those people in New Mexico, but there's not a lot of like wrestling going on in New Mexico. You don't hear about AEW touring Albuquerque or the WWE returning to Santa Fe, and which means that there's an opportunity for a promotion like the NWA to maybe get a stronghold there. And what they do in Dothan is incredible. Like, that is not everywhere. What they draw in Dothan looks like they draw way more in Dothan than they did in Philly, and Philly was a good draw.
And the crowds are hot in Dothan as well.
And think about it, guys. It makes sense. Like, they want entertainment. I recently found out why Idaho doesn't have a lot of pro wrestling, but like Iowa, Nebraska, these places, there's wrestling fans in these areas. You just need to serve them. You need to find a way to serve them. And if the NWA can benefit from a market that is undersaturated and could benefit from having wrestling shows in these more obscure towns and states, then by all means they should be trying to do that. Like, the NWA doesn't need to come to California. There's no benefit for them to being here. Just to say that they did it, who cares? It's stupid, to be quite honest with you. I said the same thing when MLW came out here. There's no reason MLW should be in California. It just doesn't make sense. What makes sense is these underserved markets when you have James H. Jackson says AEW does good in New Mexico. I stand corrected. The point doesn't change, though. There are a lot of markets that are undersaturated with wrestling, and that's where the NWA would be smart to approach those towns, approach those areas.
Right.
I don't care if it's in a bingo club. I don't care if it's not in, like Dothan Civic Center. It doesn't have to be an amazing building. Just has to look good on camera, and there's ways to do that with a hot crowd. With that being said, let's talk about Power real quick, and then the 10 minutes we have left of our airtime. First and foremost, they did have another stupid, silly sketch to start the show off with those good old slime balls being slime ballish-ish, breaking into the car of Murdoch's to steal gas. I mean, this was stupid. Last week they broke into Tom Latimer's car. This week they break into Murdoch's car. I just I don't understand why they think this is entertaining, but at least this ties into the matchup that they're going to have next week. It's the only redeeming quality is that it wasn't a self-help guru trying to get in their pants. At least it was, hey, these guys already don't like us and we just made them matter. Great. So at least they had that going for them. I already know that the segment sucks, so I don't need to ask you, Rick, if you liked it or not, because it was terrible.
I did write a note.
Let's hear it.
Said, wow, these slime balls are annoying. That's it. That's what I wrote. So I tried to keep positive this week, but I'll explain my outlook on the entire show as we get closer to the end. So
yeah. All right, so then let's look at this episode of Power again. It kind of, Shawn Mega says, but the slime balls is supposed to be goofy and stupid.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm okay with them being goofy and stupid in the ring, but like, what did this segment do for you, Shawn? Like, did you see this and go, man, I can't wait to see them get, can't wait to see Murdoch step in the ring with the slime balls.
Okay, I need some people to plug their ears for a second because I got a real brief spoiler.
Mm-hmm.
But so everybody do this that doesn't want a spoiler, and then
5, 4, 3, 2, go.
I think they're doing interviews again based on some of the stuff I saw from the TV taping. It sounded like they went back to interviews, and so
well,
hopefully
they must have heard us. So
yeah, I was going to say, well, see, that's a problem when you're 3 months behind.
Yeah,
you don't hear the criticism until you have 3 months worth of shit. All right, unspoil. You can unplug your ears. So spoilers done.
Earmuffs.
Yeah.
All right, so then that. Go ahead.
Nope. Go ahead. What were you about to say, sir?
I was just say start talking about the next episode or next match.
Oh, the first match, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's Brian Idol and Silas Mason. But Joe Galley opens up saying, "We've been waiting months to see this." Joe, we have not been waiting months to see Brian Idol make his comeback. However, we got to see Silas Mason, so that's a plus. It was not actually that bad. It wasn't terrible.
I thought it was a lot better than I thought it would be.
Yes.
And again, I'm tipping my hat.
I like the Silas shirt that he was wearing. That he's going to break his collarbone, or I broke Brian Idol's collarbone. I love that, and now I want to make one and wear it. So,
paying homage to the old I broke Wahoo's leg, which was great back then. It's great now. I felt like again the kind of neat thing about this match is that when Idol got hurt, it was in Dothan. It was in a grudge match with Thrillbilly Silas Mason. He dove out the ring and Silas hit him with that chair, and then he landed really nasty and broke his collarbone. That was all legit. Interestingly enough, he healed up just in time for them to return to Dothan to have this match, and they even teased that dive again, and Galley got very excited when he connected without breaking his collarbone. One thing that I saw that really blew my mind, actually a couple things in this match. One, big ass Brian Idol, who's probably 6'2", 6'3", and at least 220 pounds, maybe more, dove into the arms of Silas Mason, and Mason caught him like he was a baby. Literally caught him like he was nothing but a pillow. Just caught him midair and slammed him down, and I was very excited to see that. The other thing that I really enjoyed in this match is when Silas Mason grabbed the security railing and just slammed it on top of Brian Idol. Like, it was, like, obviously I don't think it felt good, but it was done in a way that looked a lot safer than it could have been. Right. And but the loud bash noise and the way it bounced off of Idol was just great as far as I'm concerned. I thought that was really cool. It was a good match. It was one of the better Brian Idol matches that I've seen. My biggest problem with this match is we get a victory for Silas Mason, and this leads us to the Crockett Cup. And what do we get at Crockett Cup? Silas Mason wrestles Hammerstone, and Brian Idol is in a title match. But the guy just lost. The last time people who are watching Power sees Brian Idol, he loses a match to Silas Mason and then fails upward into a title match at the Crockett Cup. So that was something that bothered me quite a bit. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. Then next up, I don't remember. I don't think there was another skit. Oh, yeah, there was. It was. It was an
interview, right? Maybe?
No, it was the comic book shop again with Billy.
Oh, yeah, I do have a note here for that. Yes.
The other Billy behind the register talking about his newsletter and saying that Hunter is in trouble because he's turning the page on one of the Page sisters, which was a EC3 note. And EC3 is just chopping it up with the comic book shop owner. And it's like, this was very, very strange. And again, at least this kind of is planting seeds that there should be some problems between the Page sisters, problems between Kenzie and Hunter. But Hunter's in there with Kenzie's dad, and this jerk behind the counter is saying, "I heard rumors about you and Kylie and Kenzie," and the dad just sits there shaking his head, not like, "What are you doing messing around with my daughters?" Like, he just shakes his head.
And then, it seemed like EC3 went on another nonsensical rant, after a while when he was talking. I don't know. EC3 is starting to drive me crazy when he talks in his thing. But, these, I'm hoping that they're done with these comic book, is it comic book store or no?
That's what I never really knew what it was, but this time it kind of looked like comic books in the background.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping that they're done doing this at least over the next couple of weeks, maybe finish it up. So.
DK, obviously, I don't think you had anything positive to say about that segment. Otherwise, you probably would have jumped in. That brings us to the next match. And this was a very good match. It was a lot more of a grudge match than I expected. It was a lot more violent than I expected. I thought it would be settled in the ring. They called this a number one contenders match. I thought Markova won that when she beat Tiffany Nieves last year. But nevertheless, a number one contenders match for this title. Markova and Kylie did not take this match lightly. There was some pretty rough spots in there, including a belly-to-back suplex on the stage of the venue. There was that missile drop kick from Markova from the top rope that planted right on Kylie's face. Kylie was doing some pretty rough moves when it came to Markova. There was one point where she was punching Markova in the face, and Markova was egging her on here, punch harder, punch harder. This was a pretty good match as far as I'm concerned. It really did make Markova look like a bigger star than maybe she had been treated previously. And this is the kind of momentum you want to have when you put Markova into the title match with Kenzie at the 77th anniversary show. So I was excited about this one, and I felt like it lived up to the hype, maybe even superseded that hype. So, DK, I know you're being a little bit quiet, so I want to go to you first. What did you think of this one?
Well, you never asked me what I thought of the last match.
Good job.
What did you think of the last match?
So I'm going to back up a little bit and go, the best thing I have to say about Silas versus Idol, the match that nobody wanted to see, was at least Silas pretty much dominated it, which is the way it should have been.
Right.
I can't say it was a great match, but, the booking of that match or producing of that match was relatively well done. All the skits sucked. And this match, I can't say I was overly entertained by it, but I thought that Markova looked good, and I thought Kenzie looked good for her age and experience level. I will say that. So it was an okay match that I think managed to get both of them over to a certain degree.
Yeah, I agree. Rick, what did you think about this one?
I thought it was a fun match. The crowd reaction was great. I think it was the right move for going into the future. So, yeah, I liked it a lot.
Am I frozen or did Rick freeze?
You didn't hear me? You can't hear me?
No, I heard you said you thought it was a good match, and then like the last thing you said, you froze.
Oh, I think that it was a lot of fun. I thought it was probably the right move to go forward and obviously see where the storyline progresses. Obviously, I think it's going to be a major change coming to happen probably soon. So I don't know. I thought it was a lot of fun though.
Same. I feel like it was. Kylie did not look bad in defeat, which I think is super important because you want to keep her looking strong. She's going to help build up your next contender for the women's world title. Maybe she might even be the next contender for the women's world title. Yeah. And of course, Markova looked tough as nails. Noob said it in the chat. Well, what can you say? Markova likes hardcore. I've heard that about her. It was a good match, and I feel like it was a great way to lead up to the 77. Of course, there's a lot of wrestling to happen before we get to that point. So there's more to be seen. And of course, I think we get a Markova I don't remember now, but I think Markova and Kylie wrestle at Crockett Cup too, if I'm not mistaken.
They do.
So and they had a pretty ballsy match at the Crockett Cup too, so we'll have to wait and see about that. We're about to end the show. I know that Jaden has some plugs that he needs to get in. Rick, I know you have some upcoming interviews that are coming up, so please take this time to tell us what's next on Pro Wrestling Wire.
Right now, actually, I don't have a lot planned. I'm still figuring that out for the weekend. Of course, as we talked prior to the show, your buddy Ben Raymond is coming on next week. And my friend Eric Hunting, who's also a content creator, will be on. It's exactly a year and 3 days on that date as to the first time. No, I lied. It's 5 years and 3 days since the first time he's been on the show. He hasn't been on since. And of course, we're still trying to figure out what retro episode we're doing for next week. We're looking into more old school talk. So.
And then I'm still waiting for my invitation to come back too. So
I got a plan. I'll talk to you after the show at some point.
Exciting news coming soon. Stay tuned. Jaden, what I know that we have a lot of you mentioned it earlier, but these events that are happening at the Monmouth County Fair. Tell us about what's coming up.
Well, it's the Monmouth County Fair again. The 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, and 27th of July. Dangerous Australian Wrestling Gladiators is going to make its debut with that Monmouth County Fair. The current wrestlers signed are the new Dog Tag Team Champions Primal Fear, Biggie Biggs, Valerie Verman, who is the World Wrestling Grand Prix Women's Champion, David Goldie, who is the World Wrestling Grand Prix Heavyweight Champion, Vinny the Fixer, who is the Dog Heavyweight Champion, Bala Ba is going to be there. Tank Tolan's going to be there. There's a lot of great wrestlers. They're all there. Different wrestlers are going to be every night. So you're going to see, if you come every night, you'll see different wrestlers wrestle. And Connor the Flag Boy will be there. Assuming he has a jaw left.
Did you go and visit him in the hospital, or did, who rode with him in the ambulance? I mean, that guy got dropped hard.
Yeah, Dave Dahl, I think, just kicked him out the door, dropped him to the ambulance and kicked him out and told him, Uber home.
Uber home. Oh, man. Poor kid.
Yeah, he's going to be drinking out of a straw for a while, I think. But, yeah, so there's going to be these, like I said, different wrestlers every night. So if you come out all 5 nights, you can get multiple wrestling, small little 2-match cards, and you get to check out different wrestlers. So you get to see new people and, of course, some of the returning veterans and some people and some name value at Dog. So that's really nice. We're also going to be back at the Rowan University. This first time we're doing an event in the summer. It's going to be for the freshmen of Rowan University. It's for their welcome back. They're welcome to the school, I guess, for the freshmen. Every year at Rowan, they have the freshmen come in an extra week early to get acclimated, and they give them events to keep them basically from destroying the town of Glassboro, New Jersey. Doesn't always succeed, but the biggest thing they can do now is to check out the Chamberlain Student Center at Rowan University. That's going to be August 30th. We originally had a main event scheduled, but one of the main eventers had to pull off because of a family commitment. So I'll wait to announce that. I was hoping I was going to announce it now, but I guess we'll have to wait on that. And then, believe it or not, we're going back to the Sacred Heart Church in October 18th. That's a long way away, I know. But currently signed for that is son of the living legend Larry Zbyszko, Timothy Zbyszko.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Good.
Yeah, when is that? When is that? I'm sorry.
October 18th at the Sacred Heart Church, located at 103 4th Street in beautiful, historic Riverton, New Jersey. Apparently, Timothy was born was it Passaic, New Jersey? I think it was Passaic, New Jersey.
Okay.
It was either Passaic or Parsippany. It was one of the ones with a P.
Yeah. Well, I think I might have to come up just for that. So
make sure you bring Brian Solomon and a whole bunch of paying fans.
Do you have more to approach, Jaden?
Nope, that's it right now. I got stuff working on, but that's all the Doctor Academy has me time to release. I didn't think I was supposed to release that, but whatever.
Do you mind if I mention one more thing, J. Cal?
No, go for it, please.
This weekend, Blood, Sweat, and Tears Wrestling presents Star Spangled Bash. Dijak taking on A-Game, and hang on, I got the other one. And it's going to be Richard Holiday teaming up with Swipe Right, which is contains of Ricky Smokes and Brad Baylor, taking on Wrecking Ball, Legursky, and the Brick City Boys. There's going to be a Foolproof Brewing in Bridgeport, Connecticut. It's a day show, so please go check it out. Go check out Blood, Sweat, and Tears Wrestling on all social media platforms. I am a sponsor of the event and of Blood, Sweat, and Tears on a regular basis, and this is going to be a fun show. They put on amazing shows, and of course it'll stream live on IWTV as well for those that will not be able to be in attendance.
That's really cool. DCAM, do you I have a message here. All right, so that's going to do it for us this week, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Of course, we'll be back next week. I don't know. I hope the other Alliance guys will be back on Monday. I know Tim was a little under the weather this week, so get well soon, Tim. Happy Canada Day. Of course, for those of you who are celebrating tomorrow, make sure you leave out milk and cookies tonight for your favorite American hero, whether it be Captain America, Kurt Angle, El Grande Americano, or Chad Gable. That would be Sergeant Slaughter. Yeah. All that would be a very nice touch. And don't blow off your fingers. We do appreciate you having all 10 digits. Hope you keep all those 10 digits as well. Be safe. Have a good time, but be safe. And that's going to do it for us this week at the Alliance Guys podcast. Until next time, we'll see you at the match. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at the Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are